Good evening. Welcome to our webinar today. The Allied Growth Academy is, happy to announce the webinar for 25th November. That's Tuesday today of 2025. And the topic of today's webinar is the PI Growth Blueprint, Scaling Without Hiring Burnout. This is an important topic for PI firms, and we are happy to announce the webinar. And I hope this 1 hour with us is going to transform the PI business for small, mid, and large categories. Let me give you a quick introduction to the Allied Growth Academy. The Allied Growth Academy is the learning and transformation arm of the Allied Outsourcing, created specifically for personal injury law firms who wish to have more control and clarity as they scale. Through focused webinars, implementation sessions, training programs, and innumerable practical toolkits, the Academy helps PI firms strengthen their operations, build on their workflows, bring in efficiencies, expand capacity through remote extension teams without burning out their own people. This webinar, the PI Growth Blueprint, Scaling Without Hiring Burnout, is part of that journey that the Allied Growth Academy, ensures that we provide the PI law firms with an ability to access and activate remote teams to ensure their success. This is clearly designed to provide very clear steps, usable clear steps that particularly your firms can activate pretty immediately. The PI firms, among the many internal challenges that PI firms face today, one of the significant ones is the problem with resource management. And that is the problem that hurts the most. PI firms today have very limited abilities to scale operations, to bring in people as the firm starts scaling with new cases, an ability to handle more and more customers and more clients in the firm. Let's start with the real problem. The problem that we talk about today particularly hovers around the resource management. And let's address that right away. Ruchi, would you want to step in?
Yes, thank you, Ashok. As rightly said, that it's one of the challenges that the PI firms face is related to hiring and the salaries and workflows. So there we can pinpoint it to hiring ceiling, expensive salaries, high turnover, and inefficient workflows. And when we say inefficient, it doesn't mean that the firms are not efficient. It means that there is always a room for improvement that we can improve upon. We have licensed attorneys. We have highly trained legal professionals. They are spending hours of time on demand templates. We have case managers who are chasing medical records for weeks. They make repeated phone calls, emails, faxes. We have paralegals who are doing routine entry work, copying information from one system to another. These are the things that can be that really slow down the work at times because that's not productivity. That's misallocation of talent.
Yeah.
It is equivalent of asking a surgeon to fill out the intake paperwork before stepping into the operation room. They can do it, but should they? I don't think so because that's not where their value is maximized. And same goes true for all the legal trained professionals and paralegals and case managers. So the problem that or the challenge that the law firms is it's not that they do not have enough employees. The issue is that they have hiring costs, turnovers, and admin heavy workflows. So the truth looks like that we are currently operating with a 1970s workflow in a 2025 or approaching 2026 legal market. So that's something that needs to be looked into carefully. Ashok?
The problem, Ruchi, like you rightly said, isn't about enough bodies. The problem really is about the wrong people, ending up doing the wrong work.
True.
And this is a problem probably not just in the PI firm, but across legal, the fraternity.
Yeah.
And today's solution probably will be a guideline, probably will be an indicator, probably will be a beaming light that law firms can use or leverage, and overcome the real problem of resource management. Uh, while we say this, let me take a quick break and talk about the team here. We have Ruchi Sharma, who is the leader of the pack. She's been responsible for, and she's been the real light behind the Allied Outsourcing, and a very experienced lawyer attorney herself, specializing in US PI law firms, particularly workflows, compliances, ensuring that law firms scale with effective, remote teams. And she's been a beaming light in ensuring that several law firms in the US have found success through her continuous endeavor. Now, we also have Nitin Sharma. Nitin, incidentally, has a background in operations management. He has a background in quality systems. And he has, over the years, ensured that our systems are more real, they're more measurable, they're consistent, and they have a quality system built in, which has the principles of Six Sigma, which makes it all more important. We also have Lavina, who's our project manager, and she's in charge of the whole team of remote specialists. And so is Uttara Singh, who is another project manager who's part of the discussion today. So welcome all. Sorry for a quick detour. So let's step into the capacity crisis. Now, the story about capacity crisis really stems from the fact that law firms today, while they were eager to kind of take over more cases, build the business, so to say, from a business perspective, wish to kind of support their customers, wish to support their grieving customers, I would say, because personal injury is a matter of serious concern for anybody. And the PI firms today really make a big effort in ensuring that customers remain happy, satisfied, irrespective of all the trauma that they've been through. Now, it's important that when PI firms do take up this load, this whole system is a little chaotic. Systems are not really working. As the workload increases, there's always a tendency, there's always a bottleneck, there's a tendency to lose sight of what is important. And, something takes precedence when something more important takes a backseat. Here's the whole truth. Hiring is slow. Irrespective of the kind of hiring mechanism that you have in-house, hiring definitely becomes slow. The talent pool is, first of all, thin. You no longer have the ability to hire people that you want at the pace that you would want. And that makes a lot of people in-house, including probably the attorneys and the founding partners, feel a sense of burnout and being disillusioned, right? Intake is overwhelming. There's ballooning caseloads which make life, that much more difficult. Every PI firm in the locality, in the area, is really running behind the same case, though there is a margin pressure that ensures that PI firms always find it overwhelming to succeed. There's a hiring fatigue, which is one of the critical important problems that we are addressing today with resource management. There are, of course, talent shortages always, right? This is exactly why PI firms feel stuck. Volume goes up, but the staffing just doesn't catch up. It's always a capacity crisis. There are other important challenges that PI firms face. There's an issue with technology adoption. There's AI that's taking over the market. There are workflow optimization issues. There's a marketing issue. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of PI firms chasing the same case. And end of the day, even if you end of the day win the case, you take over and start working on a case, the client satisfaction is another big problem. How are you going to address it? Now, all these are challenges that the Allied Growth Academy will be addressing through its various webinars upcoming in the near future. And we hope and expect that you will stay tuned and you will remain with us as we go through these challenges and find solutions together and share our experiences on how to make it all happen. So look forward to the upcoming webinars. And let's today, like I said, let's talk about the resource management. Now, here's how PI firms advance essentially to the next level. Or in another way, here's how effectively functioning PI firms do it when it comes to resource management. So while we talk, let me start with saying the whole idea is behind having a hybrid team, which Nitin will be better able to explain since he's been the key driver, managing and creating hybrid teams. Nitin?
Thank you so much, Ashok. The whole idea of a hybrid team is that we want to move away and evolve from pure cost arbitrage. We want to move away from, hey, let me send this task to a remote team at a lower cost. Rather, the remote team is an extension of your existing team, and both the teams focus on their core competencies. So like it's on the slide that the hybrid model is you have the in-house team which is focusing on their core competencies and the remote team focusing on their. So it's a win-win situation. Normally when you try to hire, your area is within that city, town, or the county. But with the hybrid model, you have access to a larger pool with a deeper and deeper, longer experience and specialization at a lower cost. uh, it's a seamless extension. It is not some kind of a contract or a vendor, rather extension of your team. So they are literally integrated. They're using the same tools that you're using, the same communication, so that it is in fact a remote team. It is not some kind of a vendor, and that helps in seamless, whether we're trying to understand the work, or we are trying to work on the we're delivering the task, or we're providing any updates through the seamless delegation. The hybrid teams are able to deliver value to the client, and the communication is clear. There's more trust, and the quality also improves. Now, having an extended team, a hybrid team, and this remote can be within the country, within the geography, or across the world. Some of the big advantage that you have is that the seam, you have a 24-hour window if you have the team just across. That way, you have a longer window to complete the task. For example, suddenly you get a spike in intakes. So you have a capacity of, let's say, you can do 10 intakes in a day, but suddenly you have a good month and you get 20. At that time, having a remote team that you can access, who knows the task, who's part of your larger ecosystem, you're able to fulfill that task because you have the longer window. So when you wake up in the morning and come to office again, all those intakes are all entered into the CRM, and you're taking the case to the next step. So if you look at it, by focusing on the core competency, the in-house team focus on what the face-to-face interaction with the team, getting new business, keeping the clients informed, growing your business. Those things, the strategic decision, negotiation, all those things can be done by the in-house team, but all the paperwork, all the back office operation can be, you can leverage the team, the remote team, because they have the experience, they have the expertise, and the workflows and controls in place to ensure the tasks are done on time, within cost, and the right quality. So by having it is not, you're sending the work to another team and you're letting go of people. No, that's not the way that we want to operate. We want we want the hybrid model is more on having a pool of resources, team members available on tap,
Yeah.
and you can activate them when there is a need. Ashok?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said, Nitin. I believe the PI firms will find a value when it comes to activating some remote team, at a very short turnaround, very short notice. And rightly said, it's a 24-hour window of operation.
Yeah.
Significant differences that can be made to PI firms' operations. Well said. So what's the first thing about working with remote teams? What is it all about? The first thing truly that comes to our mind is there's a fear factor. How does the remote team work? How does the remote team deliver? The important matter to be addressed is how do we overcome that fear? How do PI firms establish a mechanism where these fears can be overcome? Let me invite Ruchi to talk about, in her experience, how has she guided PI firms to overcome the fear of working with remote teams, and what has been the success? Ruchi?
Yeah, thank you, Ashok. And it's also in line with what Nitin said about the hybrid model and the having a remote team working for you. So it's a thing to think about, that is it going to replace my staff? That's the first fear that a lot of law firms or the paralegals or the case managers working in a law firm may have. But remote model or the remote extension of the team or a hybrid model does not replace the existing staff. It rather reinforces them. It adds more time to their clock time. It gives them a time to focus and the sanity they have been losing, because when they are inundated with a lot of calls and a lot of work, and then they have to keep following up with the routine things, it really becomes too much for them too at one level. So when
Right.
the routine works moves off their plate, they actually get to do what they're hired to do. They practice law. They are just not chasing the paperwork. They are not just looking at the routine stuff that can be done. And that really helps in it leads to a big shift. And the shift that takes place, your best people, they stay longer. Their burnout drops. Turnover stops feeling inevitable. And when the busy work disappears, the talent doesn't. The talent stays with you. So that's what it is. And the attorneys and the team members and everything, they get to work on high value parts. The end clients are happy because they are getting more updates more faster, more consistently, and they know what is happening on the case. So that really helps at that point when you have an extended team, a remote extension as part of your own in-house team. Ashok?
Yeah, and absolutely. Like Ruchi rightly said, this isn't about replacement. This is about reinforcement. Taking it a step further, again, think about it. It's not just about reinforcement, what the remote teams bring in. It's about reinforcement at 50% less cost than having to do the complete exercise in-house. A lot faster. In many ways, examples are proven that normal turnaround times to scale with a reinforcement remote team working for you ensures that you can scale within 24 hours, and you're on to your cases, the new incoming cases that you can take up, ensure that your clients are more satisfied. And all of this happening at less than 50%. Here's a small tip for when we talk about the 50% less cost. PI firms, when you have a case overload, or let's say you're taking up new cases, and you estimate that you budget and estimate that the new hires and in-house staff and the cost of recruitment, the cost of training, and the cost of go live is, let's say, about $15,000 to $20,000 a month. It's a recurring cost, so it's a new resource, so it's a recurring cost. It's a $15,000 to $20,000 recurring cost. When remote teams are activated, what really happens is, instead of having to spend that 15 or 20,000 recurring a month, PI firms that are bootstrapped, who have just taken off, or even existing teams that want to be more effective, think about it. The remote teams can be activated at less than 50% of the cost. You end up paying about $5,000 to $7,000 to $10,000 a month instead of having to pay all the way to $20,000 to $25,000 or more. Right now, that's a pro tip. Let's get into the next thing. It's all about where we start, the reality check, as we call it. Nitin?
Absolutely. The lawyers are experts in legal field, but some may need help with how to manage the operation. So a lot of time, the case volume can be very uh, uneven. Certain months you can get 5 cases, and another month you can get 20 cases.
A
So
typical business cycle.
absolutely, and there are some certain seasonal variations as well. But when that happens, what the personal injury law firms are at a loss. Do we hire permanently? But what do I do with someone when the caseload drops? And uh, in that, and whether we build the capacity and build the expertise as well, because this is something, when you hire, there's always that risk of whether the person will perform to the requirements. But when you have a hybrid model, then you can leverage it. And the beauty of the model is that there are different billing models. You can have a permanent FTE, you can have a transaction based arrangement, or a project based. So the flexibility is there in the hybrid model. Now, when the caseload goes up, uh, what happens is you have experts, lawyers getting into tasks which are actually, which can be done by someone else. So this whole, when there is a spike in volume, what happens is they get into these tasks, which slows down the whole thing. Correct. But when you have this model and it is flexible, you can take care of that. Now, a typical hiring, if you're really lucky, you can get a person in 2 weeks. But then, like Ashok said, there is onboarding, getting training the person, hand holding, monitoring them, which can extend the when from extend the time when the person becomes really productive from anywhere from a month to 2 months or 3 months and beyond also. And that's a big challenge because that really slows down the case management, the flow of case. Uh, and what happens is, like I told earlier, the volume goes up. People who should be talking to the customer, attending to their calls, doing the negotiation, uh, meeting with them, or growing the business, get involved in these activities, which are essentially back office. And what happens is they get overwhelmed, and the fallout of that is one. Uh, you have potential to get more business. There's business available for you to pick. You cannot, because you know that you will not be able to keep the promises. uh, Everyone, workload increases, they work over weekends, they're extending, and that increases the risk of losing people as well. Typically, when there's a lot of work, people get extended, there is a high risk of attrition as well. So when we look at, like we said mentioned in the slide earlier, we're still working a lot of places where we're still working with the 70s model, paperwork. Everything is tracked manually, whereas there's the remoting available, there are CRMs, and now with the AI coming, which can really speed up the speed up, as well as provide you with a platform to scale up your business. Ashok?
PI firms should really, move from being in the last century into the 21st century. Yeah? And
Absolutely.
I believe, Nitin, like you rightly said, somewhere the the ability to have a remote firm or a remote team, work for you is probably as good as just switching on and off a light. You
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely. I just want to quote an example here. It is like a switch. Again, this is dependent on context, what kind of work which gets sent to the remote team. There have been places where we have started work within 24 hours of getting a clear mandate because the client was ready, the vendors are ready, they have the right people in the right place available, and boom, and we've started work within 24 hours. Ashok?
that's interesting. It's not about the teams being inefficient many a times. It's about the ability for a PI firm to hire the right kind of people and make them available at the right time.
Yes.
Uh, the burnouts are really not because of the caseloads. The operational pressures, the unmanaged operational pressures, are really the reality check that PI firms should need to be aware of. Well, good. Ruchi, this is your topic, the hiring trap. Why do
Yes, Ashok.
vendors do
Yeah.
this?
Yes, Ashok, thank you. So, to add to what Nitin and Ashok has talked about the burnout, and it's really not because of big caseloads, because it's an operational pressure, and that's a very valid point because hiring internally, it becomes slower and it's more expensive. Now, why it's expensive? It's not expensive only in terms of money, but it also costs a lot of time because training new staff takes time which the current team members they may not have or they do not have. When the volume starts hiking or spiking, there's a lot of caseload and there's a lot of volume, so that then the hiring lags behind. So what is the end result? End result, it looks like something like consistent work overload, and then there are delays, and then that's client dissatisfaction. So that's a kind of a circle that keeps rotating, a pattern that starts recognizing. So it is important that when you have a remote team, hiring is taken care of, training is taken care of, and all that is needed to be done at that point of time is focusing on the core job that needs to be done. Because if they are hiring a new team member, the supervision needs to be there. Then, if somebody is supervising, they are taking of their time to supervise and train a person. Again, that leads to slow production. So, to avoid all that, all these bottlenecks, to avoid these situations, remote extension of your team is definitely a great idea. That's going to save your time and efforts. Ashok?
And at significantly less cost.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As a business, as a firm wanting to run the marathon, like Ruchi keeps saying, it's all about how do you manage your costs and how do you make your operations more effective.
Yeah.
And here's a solution.
Absolutely.
Scaling, I keep saying this in our marketing scenario, scaling shouldn't really be dependent on how fast you hire, but with your ability to activate a remote team, which is as easy as, as easy as switching up a light switch. It's as easy as that. PI firms need to be clear. They need to get into a situation where they come out of these hiring traps, come out of the delays, come out of client dissatisfaction, and ensure that you know the switch that activates the remote team. Good. Thank you, Ruchi. Uh, there are clearly early warning signs of burnout for PI.
Yeah, Ashok, before you move on to the next slide, that's a point that you have made. As easy as a switch, I think that's an analogy that's the real key takeaway from the discussion that we had in the previous two slides. So that's a
Absolutely.
real takeaway. Yeah, thank you.
Ruchi, but here I want to just put a disclaimer. These switches will not work if the work is really complex, very niche. But yes, even in those cases, we've seen that it is far faster than doing a local hiring, because like
Absolutely.
you said, there is a complete cycle. You
Yes.
avoid that cycle. uh, you spend that time in just getting the trained person get accustomed to your environment, your workflow, your style of
Yeah,
working. That is still far shorter than
yeah,
doing the hiring, training the person, then finding out whether it's working or not.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. The early warning signs of burnout for PI firms. This is something Lavina is an expert on. She's seen firms, going through the burnout phase before they get to activate the switch. And Lavina, why don't you help us understand this a little more?
Sure, sure. Thank you. As all our experts said that no burnouts in PI is very crucial. So burnout doesn't happen overnight. It starts with small challenges, then it grows into major pressure points for our team and clients. Firstly, intake delays and missed calls where the potential clients can't get through. The real revenue starts slipping away there. Next, paralegals working late nights and weekends. Uh, it's very difficult at the working in weekends actually. So overtime becomes a norm. It's a sign capacity has been exceeded. Attendees stuck during admin works is a red flag. where their work is wasted and progress stalls. Backlogs are everywhere on medical summaries, demands, and follow ups. Cases stall and timelines stretches. Once the client starts calling for status updates, uh, trust declines, frustration rises, and your team falls into firefighting mode instead of forward progress. And finally, the growing to do later piles, where tasks quietly accumulates without ever getting completed or done, I would say. All of these signs point to the same issue. Workload has exceeded operationally, capacity and burnout is already underway. Uh, that's it
Lavina,
from
you're
my
right.
side.
I guess each of these points, like you said, is part of a chain that eventually leads to a total burnout. The early signs are clear. The firms that act upon these points at the very early stages and know which switches to activate, the remote teams to activate, I guess the eventual the trap that Ruchi was talking about earlier, this is where you start exiting from the trap at a very early stage.
Exactly.
Your experience in this is quite interesting.
Yeah, and Ashok, to that, I would like to add Lavina talked about to-do later queues. So to-do lists are very notorious. We keep adding it to it, sometimes never could reach to that, and then we need another to-do to manage that to-do. So
That's a
definitely
whirlpool.
that, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, Uttara, this is all for you about the core idea. Uh, what should the PI firms do? Uttara, this is your forte. You've guided PI firms out of the trap. So tell us more about this.
Okay, thank you. So before starting it, I just can't get over the hiring trap. I was still, going back to the slide that Ruchi was talking about. And I think, what I also want to bring forward is the teams on standby. So there is a good possibility, your remote teams, we could have people on standby that could, increase the capacity. So when we talk about our core idea over here is expanding capacity without expanding the payrolls. So when we talk about the growth in PI firms, the default assumption is always we need more people, but the capacity is not the same as headcount. Most firms aren't struggling because their team lack talent. They struggle because the talent is overloaded with work. And that doesn't require their expertise. So of course, the standby, the capacity that you can get when you're working with a remote team is definitely an undeniable help that you can look forward to. And well, you can expand throughout without adding in-house staff. So hiring more full-time staff increases payrolls, training needs, management time, and still doesn't guarantee real capacity relief and the ability to move more cases and serve more clients. So yeah, you can achieve that without expanding the headcount by shifting routine tasks outward. Tasks like document prep, it is a time-consuming task. Follow-ups. Now, the thing about follow-ups is there has to be a routine follow-up. One follow-up is just not enough. That could be of a great assistance, I would say. The remote teams, discovery support, status updates, all these little things. If the remote team handles, it can bring about a lot of bandwidth. Like Nitin said earlier, that increases the bandwidth of the attorneys and the paralegal to operate under their expertise, and just let the remote team handle all of these work by themselves. So remote trained PI support teams can take over non-core work, like I said. So this is where the hybrid staffing becomes more powerful. Your core team
Yes.
so your core team actually should be more focused on the strategies, the negotiations, and the client guidance, not document organization and communication cycles, or maybe the thing that we have where in the litigation, I'll be talking about litigation a lot because that's one of my expertise. So yeah, we have the
We'll talk more
service.
about that during the webinar.
Yes, absolutely. So there's this service of the process. Now, this is a task that requires a lot of follow-ups, routine follow-ups. That could be miss out if the attorneys are involved in more core work, right? So if we handle it, that makes it very easy for them to function on their expertise. So our remote PI team is actually trained specifically in PI workflow, discovery cycles, medical follow-ups, settlement documentation, intake, and service tracking, where these non-core layers are offloaded. And your team gains hours of productive time every day. Um, and the internal team stays focused on work that wins cases. So this
Yeah,
is the biggest shift again. Your
absolutely.
attorneys and paralegals finally get to spend their time on high value legal work, strategy,
Yeah.
analysis, negotiations, and litigation preparation. So, not the admin pressure. This reduces the burnout and directly improves the firm's performance.
Yeah.
So the message is very simple over here. You don't need to expand payroll to expand capacity. You need a support model that removes the operational weight, so your team can focus on winning cases. That's the goal, right?
Uttara, there's a point that I would like to highlight very quickly.
Mhm.
This is what one of a very senior HR consultants, human resource consultants, a hiring manager told me once.
Mhm.
And this was validated by a few firms uh, whom I've personally spoken to, worked with before. The cost of a wrong hire,
Mm.
the cost of a wrong hire is apparently, if we put some numbers to it, they say it's about 5 times the cost of not even taking up the project or not even taking up the client and the revenues that you would otherwise make. Apparently these are numbers that have been validated. The cost of a single wrong hire could be so dangerous. Right
That's a
now,
risk. Absolutely.
that entire burden gets shifted to the remote team,
Mhm.
and the law firms do not even have to worry about, forget about hiring, they don't even have to worry about a wrong hire. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a very, very valid point over here. Comes with a lot of risk. Well,
Oh, yeah, plenty of risks.
we can handle it better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ruchi, back to you again. What are the tasks that typically law firms should keep in house?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Ashok. So, I would like to add 2 points here before we talk about the tasks. So, there are two things that you and Uttara just discussed. One is the non-core and the core task, and the other is cost of hiring. I would not talk about the cost of hiring wrong person here, but the cost of hiring. So, when we have right set of people on board, when we have spent so much of time, when the law firms have spent so much of time and effort in hiring and training and mentoring somebody to really be their face, when to be their face in talking to the end clients, to their clients, because whenever a client calls, he's not calling a XYZ person, he's calling a law firm. So the tasks that are kept in house, and when the law firms or the PI law firms have a remote extension of teams, so now their core people, the people who are mentored and who are the face of the law firm, what they can work on, the core task, like client strategy conversations, liability assessment, a very, very important thing that decides
Very
what is the, that drives the whole money to the law firm. Negotiations and demand review, deposition and litigation activity, case valuation decisions. So anything which is core legal work that Uttara rightly touched in the previous slide, and then you talked about. So these are the things that that can
in-house.
remain with the law firms. Remote extension teams can handle the other mundane tasks,
Yeah.
other repetitive tasks, and that should free up their time to handle these things and make their entire workflow more robust and more value, and rather, I would say, more money driven too for the law firm. Ashok?
Exactly. This is exactly what the attorneys and paralegals are trained for, right? So they're doing the core work and that stays in house. Now, while we are on that topic, I would like to quickly move on to what should really get shifted to the remote teams.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Ashok. So thank you for that. And again, it is in line with what we have been discussing so far about the core task and the mundane task. So medical records follow-ups. We all know that it's going to take a lot of time to get right set of records and file to understand if the client is treating properly, whether is there any gap in treatment, whether there is any other uh, issue
Where,
related to the treatment, or if there is any significant thing, then whether it is related to demand package preparation, case update and communications, document gathering, intake scheduling and screening, insurance follow-ups, provider request, and litigation support tasks that Uttara talked about earlier, and she will touch on it again. So these are the things that can be handled by the remote extension of the main law firm. That frees up the time to take care of their team to work on the task that we just touched upon in the previous slide. So these are the things that can definitely be shifted immediately to a remote extension team. Uttara, on that
And
note,
these are
yeah,
essentially, these take away essentially about 60 to 80%
absolutely,
of your overall workload. And
absolutely,
imagine the entire core team doing this
yeah,
and losing out on what they're supposed to be.
yeah.
Uttara, why don't you just step in and talk about, you were talking about the litigation support tasks earlier.
Mm.
This is where I think you'll be more valuable.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a quick preview of what we handle when it comes to litigation support. So once the case enter litigation, the administrative weight is actually increasing. It increases dramatically, and the most attorneys end up spending far more time coordinating the process than preparing the strategy. So we want the attorneys to basically focus on the strategy while we handle the service of process tracking. Okay. Now, drafting and organizing, which is very common and can be easily done by our team. Discovery request, calendar management for responses and deadline. Now, this is something very, very useful. Calendaring, very crucial. Communicating with providers, defendants, and process servers. Preparing exhibits, supporting documents, managing affidavits of service and non-service, ensuring timely updates on to the attorneys and the paralegal. So this is just a quick preview of the work that we do. And of course, we do anything on the request. So
But that's pretty interesting.
yeah.
Every task that an attorney does, which strictly isn't strategic in nature,
Mhm.
we keep saying this quite a number of times when we discuss internally. This is the real scaling bottleneck. Good. Thank you, Ruchi, Uttara. The concept, all your PI firms, the leaders today, uh, be aware that a 24-hour capacity expansion model is what is possible when you just switch on the remote teams. It's a simple, relatable concept. Just imagine activating a team which is, first of all, highly experienced, knows its work. Mostly, you don't even have to tell them anything, right? Ruchi can give you innumerable examples of situations where firms think that they have to guide the remote teams, and in turn, there have been examples where they've been guided back. And all of this is a round-the-clock working mechanism, which
Absolutely, yeah.
is significant when it comes to capacity expansion. No hiring. We spoke about this previously. There's no hiring. There's no training time required. There's no overhead for recruitment. There's absolutely no lead time when it comes to identifying, hiring, and onboarding a person in-house to going live and start being productive, like Nitin said somewhere, right? The whole workflow gets integrated. PI firms could have a number of case management tools that the remote teams are already familiar with. They have been instrumental in setting up case management tools. They've been instrumental in setting up your accounts receivables kind of packages. It could be QuickBooks or a Clio operated accounts module. It could be any of these tools that are available. The advantage that a law firm, the PI firm in particular, gets is that your remote team already is aware and highly trained, knows how to use, makes it more effective, and in turn helps you set up a workflow within your practice, which is a seamless practice between an in-house and a remote team, ensuring that your firms become very, 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 very effective. And this is truly your 24-hour capacity expansion model that works, that just simply works. Great.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's go to.
Just to say that, it made normally we say we have a 9-hour work window, it suddenly becomes a
Oh yeah.
24-hour work window for any law firm. Yeah,
All of us would love to have that.
absolutely, anytime.
Nitin, we come back to you, buddy. Nitin, we come back to you. Run
And
through the outcome of scaling without hiring.
okay, first of all, you have a very big shoulder, load getting off your shoulder. You breathe, you breathe better. That's one of the non-quantitative advantages of having that remote team. But important things is it increases, it speeds up case management. Case management speeding up, that means the money is coming to the firm faster. So your working capital requirement shrinks. That's a very important thing. Second, because most of these remote teams have reporting structures in place, they use the CRM, or they use the normal sheets to track. They're able to track and give an overall picture better. So they're able to do the client communication faster. So, for example, for one of the clients, they were struggling, to handle uh, to provide the update to the team, to their clients, and they were relying, the customers were calling, and then they would look up what is the status, and uh, they go back to the clients, and it was a very, it was, the push was coming from the clients,
Yeah.
whereas they moved into a proactive email and text model where every 14 days they would send an update to the client. Hey, this is where your case is now. This is the person who's handling. This is an important update. So we saw the incoming volume come down significantly by even 80%. So now imagine, here are 4 5 people who are handling the calls of the customer. Now they are free to do more high value work, whereas this team, which is a remote team, is completely focused on client updates. They're able to do it in a very, very short period of time because they're able to scale things faster. Now, when the turnaround time drops, because there's no backlog, there is a specialized team who knows how to do these things. The workflows are placed, the reporting is placed, and this capacity can be switched on and off on tap. The turnaround time drops. The clients can see the movement, and when they see the movement, they have a better experience. And when the attorneys are not bogged down with paperwork and chasing medical records from service providers, they can focus on what is in front of them, that the clients. They can give them more attention, get new business. When the backlog disappears, again, it's all tied to the case, the pace scale, the the pace with which the case moves.
Yeah.
For example, when you have a capacity around the world, the window of operation increases from 9 hours to straight away 24 hours. So you're able to handle more volume, and uh, you know uh, the customer experience is better. And one of the big fallouts, benefits of this is that when you know that I have a team which can support me when the new volume comes, when the new business comes, you are able to commit to your clients more confidently. When you
Yes.
do that with confidence, you're going to get more business. When you get more business, um, you can expand. You know that you've tested this team. You can, when you go to the client, you're more confident because you have the assurance that you have a trusted partner available to you on a very short notice. Ashok?
Absolutely. The outcome of scaling, scaling without hiring, sorry. The whole point is, I guess you rightly said it, it gives a lot of breathing space to everybody involved. Absolutely. Uh, Nitin, while we are on that topic, why don't we also look at, let's say, the ability with some real examples, Ruchi and Nitin, both of you, because both of you have been more client facing. If you could quickly, 10 seconds, quickly tell me about this.
Absolutely, yeah. So to that, I will say, Ashok, we really need an entire set of webinar to really go to the examples and figure out, what all
We'll do
is
that in another
possible.
webinar. We'll do that in another webinar.
Absolutely, that would be needed. So over to Nitin.
Yeah. So there are examples in front of us, but one I want to focus when we started with one of our biggest clients, the turnaround time on a demand. Again, I, demands are of whole variety. Some are very simple, some are very complex. But in this case, it was a relatively simpler demand. And when we started this operation, we were doing a 24-hour turnaround time. But then the client said, can we reduce it? And by working closely with them, working on the templates, can we, templatize most of the things? Can we make it better? And I'm very happy to share today, the client is getting the, the demand within 1 hour in 90% of the cases.
Wow.
Is it perfect? Absolutely not. It's not perfect. But with every, feedback that we get, we try to improve the quality. Now, what happens is the cases move faster. Another example, when we started, they had 5 to 10 cases in a month. Okay, today they handle 700 to 800. Has the staff, whether in their in-house team or us, gone up by 100 times? Absolutely not. By leveraging on technology, by specializing on task, by using automation, we were able to provide a platform, deliver on these things while the volume has gone up by such a big margin. And the most important thing, because of the improvement in scale, the the PI firm has now a platform to grow even further. That's
Wonderful.
the beauty of the thing. It doesn't the scaling doesn't have to go a certain slip and stop over there. We have the CRMs, we have the automation tools, we have the process improvement Six Sigma
Case
tools in
management.
place. So we can take from 1 to 10 to 100 and even further. Ashok?
Yeah. Ruchi, sorry. Uttara, you did give me some examples earlier. So why don't you just very quickly tell us about that?
Okay, so this is something which is related to the client, one of the clients that we work with. Nitin earlier told us about the client email updates where the calls shifted to the email updates and the updates from the remote team, basically, in the email format as well as calls. So, of course, the team there has a lot of window to actually work on more. And then secondly, we also started um, the review work. So imagine a review that is done. So that it decreases the chances of error, making the work error free. The more people review it, the more the final work in the end is error free and it's without error. So again, one of the things that we are able to achieve here is quality work.
Yeah.
And this actually happens with all the processes. In fact, we are reviewing what the in-house team is also doing. So not just one example, but in basic, we are reviewing everything that the in-house team that cut downs on a lot of mistakes and errors that can happen in future, saves time of the attorney. Imagine an attorney, going to the court every now and then when he could actually, sit in the law firm and get the work done. So that saves a lot of time. We also,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Uttara. Ruchi and Nitin, I quickly have to ask you to guide us through the approach. That why does all of this that we have spoken about avoid burnout for PI firms?
Yeah, Ashok, thank you. So, to that, I would say that we talked about why the burnout happens. We talked about how the remote extension teams can really help. So, how does it help avoiding the burnout or protecting the case managers or the team from the burnout? So the repetitive tasks are removed from the attorneys and paralegals. All the data entry work, all the miscellaneous mundane work is taken care of. So they can only work on high value work.
Yes.
The workload, it gets distributed evenly. So
Oh, yeah.
one person is not just working on chasing end to end, waiting for files and the medical providers and then demand and everything. So that the pressure stops. It doesn't become their personal task to complete one case because they have support from their remote team. They have
The
somebody
distribution,
who understands the timelines.
yeah, the
And
distribution factor.
yeah,
You once told me this: the right person gets the right job in
yeah.
having
Absolutely.
in-house and a remote leverage.
Absolutely. And that leads to more predictable workflows. So we
Exactly.
talked about earlier, what happens when there is burnout. Now with this extension, remote extension team, the workflow is more predictable. Things are getting done on time. The timelines are stabilized, turnarounds are consistent, and then there is a breathing room for more strategic work. The
Absolutely.
work is now finally controlled and it is not frantic. The growth doesn't feel like chaos that, okay, we have to handle so many things at a time. They know that we have, somebody, a remote extension team who is going to work with us on the timelines and who value the same things that we do. And they work with more power instead of working under the pressure. Ashok?
Absolutely. 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 The whole point of the chaos takes a backseat, first of all. And even when there is a chaos, let's say, the fact that the seamless integration between the in-house and the remote teams ensures that the system very quickly becomes more stable and not disappears from being chaotic. Very true. Burnout absolutely makes the when burnout disappears, workflow becomes more predictable and
Absolutely.
much easier. Nitin, coming back to you for risk and compliance,
Uh,
we have a hybrid team, we have a remote extension team. How do we manage risk and compliance?
That's a very, very important point, uh, Ashok, because we are dealing with very confidential data. Uh, when you are, screening a remote or hybrid team, you have to consider all these things because uh, the clients are very, very sensitive about this. So it's very important that when you're judging, you have to look at their risk and information security protocols. Okay, do they have the right processes for physical security? Do they have systems which are access control is there, whether it's on the CRM, whether the documents are being transmitted? Does the right person only the right person is
That's
is getting the right information at the right time? So that's extremely important. And that's where having that right mindset works. Whether it's Uttara, Lavina, Ruchi, or me, this is an important factor for us. So we start with the training. We sensitize the team member, whether it's in reduction, whether it's ongoing training. We want to make sure that the team also understands the importance of information security. And moreover, in case there is an incident, we take it very seriously. And because we want to assure our clients that, their information is secure with us. Okay.
absolutely
And
very
so,
good.
so that means having the right, uh, you know, uh, DLP systems, whether it's the right certification. ISO 27000 is a norm for us. But then beyond the certifications, Ashok, it's also important to have the mindset. It trickles from Ruchi downwards. When she displays the behavior, then it gets and we take these things very seriously, whether it's compensation or we don't mind letting go of people who do not follow these policies, because at the end of the day, our clients have to uh, get the assurance that their information is safe with us. Now,
Very
coming from the compliance, now whether it's an intake, whether it's a LOR, whether it's a quality of call, having a very strong foundation of operational excellence really makes a difference. Uh, while it's important to have the domain knowledge, but when you're trying to scale operations, you need these foundations to ensure that all the transactions are done on time, in cost, and the right quality. So that means understanding the workflows, working with the team to find out the most uh, efficient ways, making sure that you have the process documents so that everybody gets the consistent training and so on and forth. That's extremely essential, and that's the right way to judge or filter the right partner for you, because at the end of the day, no amount of uh, you know having a hybrid team will work if you don't have the confidence that your data is secure, that my clients are getting the right service at the right time. So those things
yeah.
are extremely important. uh, Ashok, we might have to just kind of, speed up things here
Yes,
because
yes,
we
yes.
want to be cognizant of
Uh,
the time. So I leave it to
Lavina,
you. How to speed up
no, no,
things,
no, no,
Ashok?
that's good. That's good. You reminded me, Lavina, all about a quick summary.
Sure, I'll do that very quick. Okay, scaling without hiring burnout is not theory, it's a method. So, when you have the right support structure in place to handle the operational workload, the work becomes very smooth. So, as the case workflow flows, as like no, from intake and then the case management, admin, follow ups, document preparation. So everything changes at that. Like no, everything goes smooth. Your attorneys stay focused on high valued work. Your paralegals stop drowning. Your clients get proactive communication and your pipeline moves. So
Yeah,
that's it
true.
from my
So
side.
true. Well said. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Uttara, who are these remote people? One last question to you. A 10-second
And
question.
very valid question, yes.
Yes, that is the
10-second
biggest
question,
question.
unfortunately.
Who are these people? And I'll break it to everyone. So we are these remote people. And at this point, everyone's wondering, but we are those remote people. And here's what makes our team different. So our teams are deeply specialized in the US PI law. That's as simple as that. We don't need hand holding. We come prepared, knowing exactly how a PI case moves. And
Well
that's,
said.
yeah, as simple as that. So we are trained in HIPAA and medical legal protocols. So every team member here is trained in HIPAA compliance, data security, how they handle the data, the client confidentiality. They have been trained and given expert training on these matters, which is very important. So this ensures accuracy, confidentiality, and clean documentation, the foundation of every strong demand and every strong case. So long history. So we have a very long history of supporting PI firms. So we worked with all sizes of solo law firms to even a large law firm where we are handling attorneys for as large as 40 plus attorneys or maybe team members. So across all the board, the results have been the same. Faster processes, less burnout, higher consistency, and more cases handled without growing internal headcount. So this is not new for us. We've helped PI firms scale for years, and we know what works for them. So performance is guaranteed, and finally, we stand behind our work. So we offer performance guarantees, consistent reporting, measurable output, and a structured support model with the help of Nitin. I mean, he brought in a lot of experience of the operation. So that's how we do it. Combined effort of our team, structured support model that ensures the attorneys always know what is being done and by whom it is done. So you get
Thank you. Thank you,
reliability.
Uttara.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Performance guarantees, I'm sure that is exactly what PI firms want to hear. Well, here we come to the end of the webinar. Very quickly, we will give you a peek into what's coming up next in the next webinar. Hope to see you all there. It's all about workflow efficiencies, leveraging automation. We will talk about this in more detail in the webinar, but a quick highlight. A remote team with automation is the true scaling, right? And Lavina, Uttara, Ruchi, Nitin, and team, and all the remote working team members essentially have workflows that are automated and ensure real scaling for PI firms. So we here invite PI firms to visit our website, reach us out, talk to us, email your queries, get to know us more. We will ensure that there is a maximum leverage with minimum burnout. Thank you very much. See you all in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.